Let's begin with fractions, decimals, and percentages. So this was mostly done okay. The first thing I want to point out is question 1B. 1B. Now, we talked just now in the opening review questions about what happens when you put together two fractions and their denominators are different, like they are in this 1B question. Okay? Now, we get that they have to have a common denominator. We want them talking the same language. But a lot of you didn't realize, hey, see that 1/3? See the 1/3, right? I could rewrite 1/3, you can just make out this writing here, as 3/9. If I multiply it, top and bottom, by 3. Once you've done that, you don't need to change the denominator of the first fraction. You can just leave it as 5/9. It was less work and it was quicker. A lot of you changed both denominators to 27, which is just extra work. It added in more places for errors to creep in. So that's why I've told you many times, mathematicians famously lazy, not just because it's efficient, but because you often get a more accurate answer if you do less work. Okay, so that was the first thing. Turn over the page for me. This question number 3, this is a question of interpretation, right? And we've looked at problems like this before. You can see, most of you can see the key numbers in here, $36. She spent 25%. How much money did she spend? Now see what I just did there? Let me rehearse it again. Look up and watch as I do it. I'll rehearse it, okay? This is literally what I do in an exam, and I tell all of my students to do this. My senior students do it the most. As you're reading through, you say $36, important detail. 25%, important detail. How much money did she spend? That's the actual question. So a lot of you got this question wrong, not because you couldn't calculate, but because you misread what was being asked of you. So bring a highlighter into your exam. Bring a colored pencil, anything, so you can do just like I did and highlight the important bits so you answer the question correctly. Okay. Let's keep going. This one here, 1B, it did say simplify, right? Write it as simple as possible. Most of you got, okay, I can write G times 6 as 6G. That was good. And so as a consequence, you left the answer like that. And I think that was accepted. But a better answer would be 5/2G. What's the difference from one fraction to the other one? What's the difference? I've divided the top and bottom by 3. Very good. So 15 and 6. Common factor. You might as well take it out. Okay. All right, down here at the bottom of the page, question 2. The most common error was a lot of people read 5H, right? If H is 8, they read that as 58, right? Because like, oh, well, I'm just going to replace the H. But what you need to, we actually talked about this yesterday, right? 5H, it's short for, thank you, it's short for 5 times H. So you had to multiply that number. Now, this is a really important note. I want all of you, every single one, even if you got these all right, I want you all to make this note in your book, okay? We're on page 3, and all the questions are of the same style. You notice at the top of the page it says solve the equations, right? And then it gives you a whole list, right? Now, what I want you to notice is have a look down the right-hand column of the page. Okay. Now, if there are individual questions, I will come and answer those a bit later on. I want to get all the way through, and then as people work together, they can ask me questions later. Okay. I want you to notice these two. Can you see on the screen now? And it's warming back up. It's taking its time. Can you see that these two here, D and E at the bottom of the page, they are different at the right-hand side, right? What do those numbers mean? The 1s and 2s? Christian. Yeah, how many marks are assigned to each question? Now, what we're trying to indicate to you is, hey, I mean, you probably could tell just by looking at the questions. These ones, they're a bit harder, right? They're a bit more difficult, okay? So we expect you to take a bit more time, and we'll reward you more for getting those ones correct because they take more work, okay? However, it also means we're expecting you to show us how you did the question. That's why I keep on endlessly banging on about how awesome and important it is to put working down. Don't just jump to here, right? What's being assessed is actually, can you demonstrate your understanding? So, some of you may not have gotten the 2 marks on those because you just jumped straight to an answer and you didn't include, can you see here on the left, you didn't include this kind of working that showed what was going on. Like, why is it m equals 4? Or why is x equal to 10? G'day, sir. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so please make note of that. You should all write that under your notes and corrections thing. That when you see like that number of marks over there, sometimes later on as you get into the senior school, you'll see questions worth 3 marks or 4 marks. That's a signal to you. Make sure you show your working, doubly so. All right, over the page. Over the page. Okay, now both of the questions at the top of this page are worth commenting on briefly. The first one is, number 4, if x represents a number, write an algebraic expression to show the number increased by 4. Okay? And the important thing is that you noticed it was an expression, not an equation. What's the difference between an expression and an equation? Nikhil?
It's like when you just don't say what it's equivalent to, you just like show. So instead of saying like 5 plus 3 is equal to 8, I think.
Yeah.
It's like saying just 5 plus 3.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly right. There's an easy way to recognize what's what. An equation has an equals sign in it, right? That's what makes it an equation. So what we were just looking for, this is all you need to say. Just x plus 4. That's it. The number, x, increased by 4. That's all we were looking for. Okay? Number 5. This was tricky. It required some interpretation, right? The cost of a phone call is 50 cents plus 35 cents per minute. And you get given, again, you might like to write down in your own notes, you got to emphasize the important bits. You get given names, pronumerals, for each of these ideas here. How much it costs, how long you're talking for. Okay? You can see how I've arrived at these bits of the equation by reading what's in the question. Can you see it says 50 cents? You just have to pay that straight away. By the way, that's often called a flag fall. A lot of companies don't do that anymore, but it's still a thing. An initial cost just by, actually ringing the phone to the other person picking up. And then you have to, the longer you talk, as you know, the more you have to pay. So you can see here, for instance, if I talked for 1 minute, how much would they charge me for that 1 minute, just the 1 minute? It's the 35 cents, right? Plus the 50. If I talk for 2 minutes, there's going to be 70 cents plus the 50. If I spoke for 3 minutes, it'd be $1.05 plus the 50. You get the idea. So this number over here, it keeps on getting bigger and bigger as time progresses. And then this guy just kind of stays 50 cents. Okay. So that's what the equation would look like. That will give you the total cost. Okay.